Yo, what up, Street Gods? This is Eric from the Eric blog. So, want to share with y'all some turbo thoughts. This time, bringing up my best friend, Karl Popper. So, I was first introduced to Karl Popper by my other best friend, Nassim Taleb. And the thing that's been so epic for me is this notion of falsibility. So, what is falsibility? The basic notion is science can never prove anything. Science could only ever disprove things. So for example, you know, the classic example from the Black Swan is, let's say, you know, for 10,000 years, no humans ever witnessed anything besides a white swan. Like all swans are white, right? And then one day in Australia, they discover one sighting of a single black swan. That single spotting of that one black swan totally falsifies the assumption that all swans are white. Now, how does this have practical and pragmatic benefit to us? Let me explain. So, it means that we should be sus and skeptical of almost all science, statistics, things in the media you hear and stuff like that. So it doesn't mean that, like, you know, don't believe in nothing. It means have extreme skepticism towards everything. Let me give you some more examples. So I think a lot of like statistics, scientists, you know, I think there's a lot of people who are like low-key racist or, you know, essentially closet racist, or they might be racist without knowing it or whatever. And it just, you know, it's all right. It's like no one, I don't think it's anyone acting sinister. It's just the way society is. Let me give you a practical example. So this is coming from an Asian guy, right? So the general assumption is, at least in America, African American men are genetically physically superior to Asian men, East Asian men, whatever, right? So for example, when I deadlift 455 pounds at the gym, people are shocked because I'm an Asian guy and generally Asian guys aren't strong, right? But I bet you if I were African American, people might still be shocked, but they'd be less shocked. Now, so actually what happens then is, inherent in this observation, there's some sort of low-key closet racism that Asian men are of a lesser genetic stock than, you know, other races. So if you see a strong Asian guy and you're shocked, it might be some sort of subconscious racism. And you know, honestly, we're all a little bit racist and I think that's okay. But I think what I'm trying to fight for is to realize that often too much in life, we just kind of get suckered by everything. So we get suckered by randomness, we get suckered by statistics, we get suckered by the news. We get a little bit suckered by everything. So let me give some more examples. Let's say, you know, you want to become healthier or you want to live a long time, right? Then, you know, what might, you know, try to figure like, okay, how do we live as long as we can, as physically vigorous and healthy as we can? So we study centenarians, who are people over the age of 100. So, you know, let's say we study, you know, 100 people who are over the age of 100, right? And we discovered all of them eat blueberries, right? Then we might make the naive assumption, if you eat blueberries, you're more likely to live to be over 100 years old in excellent health. Now, this is obviously nonsense because we're essentially getting suckered by correlation and it's not causation, right? it's almost as silly as saying something like, we have looked at all the centenarians and they all take showers every day. Thus, if you shower every day, you're more likely to live to be over 100 years old in excellent health. So other practical ways we get suckered by this. So I don't actually. So I've read like hundreds of business books and marketing books, whatever, and I don't think I've read a single good one. Like it's all honestly a big waste of time, because once again, all these guys who try to deconstruct genius and productivity, making money, blah blah. They're essentially they do the following. They study a lot of great individuals, then you try to see commonalities between the rich, successful individuals, and then based on that you extrapolate on, you know, certain character traits which allows one to succeed. So let's say we studied all the billionaires in the world. They're like, oh, they all work really hard, they're industrious, they only sleep 6 hours a night, you know, 5 hours a night, whatever it is, and therefore if you work all the time, you're industrious, and you only sleep 5 to 6 hours, like, you're more likely to become rich or a billionaire. So this is obviously nonsense too, because what if you discover one billionaire or a trillionaire who is extremely lazy, sleeps 12 hours a day, yet becomes a trillionaire or a billionaire? That one black swan, that one outlier, that one guy who disconfirms the whole thing has shown falsifiability, like Karl Popper's notion of being able to falsify the notion that, you know, by looking at certain trends that will predict some sort of future outcome or whatever. Now, it is tricky in life, because then one might say the thing, okay, all right, we're all skeptical, then what are we to do anyways? Because it's all subjective and it's all, you know, falsifiable. Should we just sit on our butts and twiddle our thumbs? No, I don't. I think that's stupid. I think falsifying ideas and notions should be more encouraging, more motivational and positive and uplifting than discouraging. Let me give you an example. So this actually happens to a lot of Asian guys, or like skinny dudes, or whatever you are, or women, everybody, right? You're kind of trained, if you're a certain race, sex, gender type, morphology, something, then you're less likely to succeed at X, Y, and Z because of your upbringing, your race, your ethnicity, your country, blah blah. But once again, you never know until you test it yourself. So to me, then what happens is very interesting in life is that I become the test subject for myself, rather than worrying about what the rest of the world says in statistics. Like I'll give you another example. So, you know, for a long time we got suckered into thinking that saturated fat and cholesterol and eating meat was bad for you. And so everyone started drinking skim milk, eating white chicken breast, whatever. And, you know, then one day they're like, actually, you know, we kind of falsified that notion, is that you could eat a lot of saturated meats, red meats, fatty stuff, whatever, and still be in great shape. And so I just kind of, you know, tested it for myself. And so, you know, what I ended up doing was this. I stopped eating all carbs, even the good ones, like the complex ones, right? And I literally ate nothing but like fatty meats, right? And bitter greens, herbs, like kind of like kale and collard greens, because I just like the taste, and it helped me with my digestion. Some kimchi too, right? And I found that I was able to, you know, while practicing intermittent fasting, I was able to concurrently lose body fat and gain muscle. And so that was kind of fun. It was a kind of fun experiment, and I was able to prove something interesting to myself. Now, obviously, this notion could be falsified, but ultimately, I don't really care, because I'm doing it for myself and not for others. And other examples. People always say like, oh, you know, immediately after you work out, you have to have a protein shake or the 1 hour window, whatever, for weightlifting, or have a protein shake before your workout to maximize your gains, blah, blah. I never eat nothing before I work out or lift. Like, I never eat breakfast or lunch. I only eat dinner, and I usually break my fast around like, you know, usually like 6 p.m. or 8 p.m. or sometimes 10 p.m. And during the day, all I do is drink water and drink black coffee. I haven't, you know, I don't take protein powder. Obviously, I don't do roids or tests or any of these weird things. I don't take any supplements. I don't take any vitamins or anything like that. And me as this, like, you know, also another like kind of a pseudo-scientific thing, like body types, like ectomorph, right? Like people with small hands and wrists and stuff like that. Another way that people try to make you feel bad about yourself. So like one might say, oh, you know, I'm an ectomorph, and you know, I'm a kind of more of a skinny dude, so therefore I'll never be able to get strong. And then it's like, no. So why? So while intermittent fasting, no protein. So what did I do not do? I don't take protein powder. I don't eat food before. I don't eat carbs. I don't take supplements or protein powders and none of these weird things. And I was still able to deadlift 455 pounds at like body weight, maybe like 170 or 175, I'm not sure. And having like bad genetics. So I was able to falsify this notion that, you know, Asian guys or skinny Asian guys or whatever, or ectomorphs or whatever, can't get strong. And what I also find interesting is that so much of marketing for at least men and, you know, bodybuilding, whatever, is all based on this fear marketing where it's like, if you do not take protein powder or supplements or creatine, blah, blah, then you might lose out on your chance to maximize your gains. So it's all based on fear marketing. Or even the thought that like you cannot get strong without taking protein powder. And obviously I was able to disprove that notion. Or it's like, you know, and then, you know, people get so anxious too because I must immediately have a protein shake right after I work out or else I'll not gain muscle. I'm like, yo, I've like deadlifted over 400 pounds at around noon, and I don't break, and then I'll eat nothing till like 10 p.m. that same day, and still I get stronger. So once again, I'm like, I think one of my greatest joys in life is to disprove these kind of notions. Like, I like to disconfirm. Another example, they're like, you know, this is like 2010, 2011. I'm like, I wonder if I can make this like street photography, blogging thing, kind of like my full-time career. And everyone's like, you can't make full-time money as a street photographer. That's impossible, blah, blah. And I was able to falsify or disprove that notion. So essentially what I mean to say is, in life, you are the black swan, you're the outlier, you're the person who could disprove others. And honestly, don't make your impetus to try to like disprove others, but maybe just to prove it to yourself, or to disprove like self-racist or self-hate or self-prejudice in yourself. Like even for myself, right? Like for the longest time I was like, I think I do have a chip on my shoulder in the sense that growing up like as an Asian American guy in America, like we're always teased that, oh, you know, y'all have small dicks and you guys are physically inferior and less desirable, blah blah. So it kind of like was really bad for my self-esteem. And then for my whole life I've been just trying to prove it to myself and others, whatever. And now that I feel like I'm kind of more zen and kind of more into myself, I really care less about the opinions of others, and I'm just trying to prove it to myself. So once again, strive to falsify nonsense, have the courage to assert your opinion, have the audacity to do it, and like start to deprogram yourself, deprogram notions of guilt, deprogram notions that selfish means evil. And probably the best thing I've learned from philosophy is philosophy as a via negativa approach to remove or reduce notions that are stupid or false, to, you know, so like philosophy, studying philosophy and stuff like that as a means to remove fear, subtract feelings of guilt, subtract feelings of shame, to essentially to deprogram yourself. And also that's one thing that sociology has helped me, is studying sociology will teach you what societal nonsense there is, and to just subtract the nonsense.